Imagine for a second that you're standing in a massive, open field. In your hand, you have a single apple seed. It's small, dry, and honestly, it looks pretty insignificant. Now, you have two choices. You can eat the seed, though it won't taste like much, or you can bury it in the dirt. If you bury it, nothing happens tomorrow. Nothing happens next week. In fact, if you go out there a month from now, you might feel like a fool for wasting that seed. But we all know how the story ends. If you wait 10 years, you don't just have an apple. You have a tree that produces hundreds of apples every single year, forever. The weird part is, when it comes to our money, almost all of us choose to eat the seed. We live in a world that is obsessed with the harvest, but completely ignores the planting. We see the guy driving the Italian sports car or the influencer on a private jet, and our brains tell us, that's what wealth looks like. But here is the psychological trap. Most of the time, what you're seeing isn't wealth. It's someone spending their seeds. True wealth is actually what you don't see. It's the forest you didn't cut down. Today, we're going to peel back the curtain on the psychology of money. We're going to talk about why your brain is hardwired to keep you broke, why rich and wealthy are two completely different things, and how you can start building a financial life that gives you the one thing money is actually meant to buy: your freedom. The trap of the rich illusion. Let's look at two people, Mike and Sarah. Mike is what most people call rich. He's a high earner, maybe a lawyer or a plastic surgeon. He pulls in $300,000 a year. He lives in a house with a 5-car garage, wears a watch that costs more than a mid-size sedan, and his Instagram is a non-stop reel of 5-star dinners. If you saw Mike at a stoplight, you'd think, that guy has made it. But if we look at Mike's bank account, the story changes. Mike spends $310,000 a year. He's financed the cars, the house has a massive mortgage, and that watch was bought on a credit card he's still paying off. Mike is on a treadmill that is moving at 100 miles per hour. If he stops running, if he loses one big client or takes a month off, the whole thing collapses. Mike has a high income, but he has zero wealth. Now, look at Sarah. Sarah earns $70,000 a year working as a graphic designer. She drives a reliable 8-year-old Toyota. She lives in a comfortable but modest apartment. To the outside world, Sarah is just average. But Sarah has a secret. For the last 10 years, she's been living on $50,000 and putting $20,000 into assets that grow. Sarah has $300,000 tucked away in investments. That money is working for her while she sleeps. If Sarah lost her job tomorrow, she could survive for years without breaking a sweat. The psychological problem we face is that our brains are evolved for a world that no longer exists. For 99% of human history, if you had resources, you had to use them immediately, or someone else would take them. If you killed a mammoth, you ate it. You didn't invest the meat for 30 years later. Because of this, we are biologically programmed to value outward displays. We use spending as a signal of status. We want our neighbors, our friends, and even strangers on the street to know we are successful. The problem is that in the modern world, spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. Wealth is the cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, the watches not worn. Wealth is the redirected potential of money. It is the ability to say no to a job you hate or a boss you despise. But because wealth is invisible, we don't admire it. We admire the spending, which is the literal destruction of wealth. The cost of the gap. To understand how to build wealth, we have to understand the most important concept in finance. And it's not the stock market or crypto, it's the gap. The gap is the space between your ego and your income. Think of your income as a stream of water flowing into a bucket. Most people, as soon as the water level rises, they poke a hole in the side of the bucket. They get a raise, they get a nicer car, they get a bonus, they go on a luxury vacation. They are essentially keeping the water level at the same spot no matter how much water is flowing in. Wealth building is the art of keeping the bucket sealed. But here's where the psychology gets tricky. We don't poke those holes because we're stupid. We do it because of something called lifestyle creep. When you're in college, you're perfectly happy sleeping on a hand-me-down mattress and eating 99-cent ramen. You're broke, but you're fine. Then you get your first job making $40,000. Suddenly, the ramen feels beneath you. You need real food. You get a $60,000 job, and suddenly that studio apartment feels cramped. You need a 2-bedroom. The danger of lifestyle creep is that it feels like progress. It feels like you're leveling up your life, but in reality, you're just increasing your burn rate. You're making yourself more dependent on your paycheck, not less. The goal of wealth building isn't to live like a monk forever. It's to widen the gap as much as possible for as long as possible. If your income goes up by $1,000 a month and you only increase your spending by $200, you've just widened the gap by $800. That $800 is your seed. That is the money that goes to work so that one day you don't have to. The magic of the unseen employee. Let's talk about what happens to those seeds once you plant them. This is where we move from saving to investing. Most people think of investing as gambling. They think it's about picking the right stock at the right time or beating the system. But that's just another form of entertainment. True investing is much more boring and much more powerful. Imagine every dollar you save is a tiny, invisible employee. This employee doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, and doesn't complain. Their only job is to go out and find more dollars to bring back to you. At first, you only have a few employees. They bring back a few cents a month. It feels pointless. You think, why am I skipping this $7 latte just to have these tiny employees bring me back 3 cents? This is the point where most people quit. They don't see the immediate result, so they decide the seed is better off being eaten. But this is where the math of the universe, compounding, takes over. If those tiny employees bring back more employees, and then those new employees start working too, the growth isn't a straight line. It's a curve. For a long time, it looks flat. You're working hard, saving money, and your net worth is barely budging. Then, suddenly, the curve starts to turn upward. There is a famous riddle. Would you rather have $1 million today or a single penny that doubles every day for 30 days? Most people's intuition screams for the $1 million. But if you take the penny, on day 5, you only have 16 cents. On day 10, you have $5.12. You feel like a loser. On day 20, you have about $5,000. You're still way behind the person who took the million. But on day 30, that penny is worth over $5 million. Wealth building works exactly like that penny. The first 10 years of your investing life will feel like you're doing nothing. You'll look at your friends who are spending their money on new cars and fancy clothes, and you'll feel like you're losing. But you're not losing. You're building the foundation of the curve. You are gathering your army of invisible employees. The trick isn't being a genius. The trick is just not interrupting the compounding. The psychology of enough. Now, there is a dark side to this. If you're not careful, the pursuit of wealth can become a disease. In the world of money, the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. We are social creatures. We compare ourselves to the people around us. If you live in a neighborhood where everyone drives a Honda and you buy a BMW, you feel like a king. But if you move to a neighborhood where everyone drives a Ferrari, your BMW suddenly feels like a piece of junk. This is the treadmill of more. If your happiness is tied to having more than the person next to you, you will never be wealthy, no matter how much money you have, because there will always be someone with more. There's a story about 2 writers at a party hosted by a billionaire hedge fund manager. One writer says to the other, "How does it feel to know that our host makes more money in a single day than your best-selling book will make in its entire lifetime?" The other writer looks at him and says, "That's okay. I have something he will never have." The first writer is confused. What's that? Enough. Enough is the most powerful word in finance. If you know what enough looks like for you, you are playing a completely different game than everyone else. You're no longer competing for status. You're competing for time. Think about it. Why do we want money in the first place? Is it for the leather seats in a car? Maybe for a week. Is it for the big house? Maybe for a month. But eventually, the newness wears off. This is called hedonic adaptation. We get used to the things we buy, and they become our new normal. The only thing that money provides that doesn't suffer from hedonic adaptation is control over your time. The ability to wake up and say, "I can do whatever I want today," is the highest dividend money pays. Being able to leave a job you hate, being able to spend a Tuesday afternoon with your kids, being able to retire 5 years early to pursue a hobby. That is what planting the seeds is actually for. You aren't sacrificing your life today for a pile of gold tomorrow. You are trading a little bit of ego today for a lifetime of freedom tomorrow. Practical steps. How to plant your forest. So, how do we actually do this? How do we move from the rich illusion to wealthy reality? It starts with 3 simple shifts in how you look at your bank account. 1. Automate the planting. The biggest enemy of wealth is your own willpower. If you have to choose to save money every month, eventually you'll have a bad day or see a shiny new gadget and you'll decide not to. The solution? Don't make it a choice. Set up an automatic transfer from your paycheck to an investment account. Make it so the money is gone before you even see it. If you never see the money, your brain adapts to living without it. You make the planting invisible. 2. Focus on assets, not liabilities. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Most people think their car is an asset. It's not. It loses value every day and requires gas, insurance, and repairs. Most people think their primary home is their biggest asset. While it has value, it's mostly a liability until the day you sell it, because it costs you money every month to maintain. Wealthy people spend their lives collecting assets, stocks, bonds, rental properties, or businesses. They use the income from those assets to buy their luxuries. If Mike wants a $2,000 a month car payment, he uses his salary. If Sarah wants a $2,000 car payment, she waits until her investments generate $2,000 a month in dividends to pay for it. 3. Redefine success. Stop looking at what people spend and start looking at what they own. When you see someone in a brand new $80,000 truck, don't think, wow, they're rich. Think, wow, they just spent $80,000 they no longer have. Success isn't about the noise you make. It's about the silence of a bank account that gives you peace of mind. The hidden price of wealth. Now, I have to be honest with you. There is a price to building wealth. It's not a price you pay in dollars. It's a price you pay in psychology. The price is uncertainty and boredom. Building wealth is incredibly boring. It's like watching paint dry or grass grow. It requires you to do the same simple thing, save and invest, over and over again for decades. Our brains hate boring. We want excitement. We want the hot tip or the next big thing. The stock market will crash. It's not a matter of if, but when. And when it does, the news will tell you the world is ending. Your friends will panic. Your brain will scream at you to do something. But wealth isn't built by the people who do the most. It's built by the people who can sit still the longest. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in history, didn't make his billions by being a genius trader. He made 99% of his wealth after his 50th birthday. He simply started young and never stopped. He let his invisible employees work for 8 decades. The price of wealth is being willing to look average for a while so that you can be extraordinary later. It's being okay with not having the newest phone or the trendiest clothes. It's the ability to handle the fear of missing out while everyone else is busy spending their future for a temporary hit of dopamine today. The conclusion: your freedom fund. At the end of the day, money is just a tool. It's no different than a hammer or a screwdriver, but it's a tool that can build a cage or a ladder. If you use money to buy things to impress people you don't even like, you are building a cage. You are locking yourself into a life where you must work, where you must stress, and where you are always one paycheck away from disaster. But if you use money to buy assets, you are building a ladder. Each rung of that ladder is a little bit more freedom. Think back to that apple seed. You have seeds in your pocket right now. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $500. It doesn't look like much. It looks like a cup of coffee or a new pair of shoes, but that is the illusion. That $50 isn't just $50. It is the potential for $500 or $5,000 in the future. It is a tiny piece of your future freedom. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Wealth isn't a number in a bank account. Wealth is the ability to live life on your own terms. It's the security of knowing that whatever happens in the world, you and your family are okay. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. So, the next time you're about to spend money on something you don't really need, ask yourself, am I eating the seed or am I planting the forest? The choice you make today is the life you live tomorrow. What are you going to do with your seeds? Hit that like button and subscribe to Lollipop. Let's grow something meaningful together.